All right, welcome back to First and Short, your first place to get short bits of college football news and analysis. We've officially made it to week 3, guys. I am Mashfik. This is my co-host Aaron, and we've got a great agenda. Obviously, we're going to be covering week 3. We've got a couple of final thoughts on week 2. We've got to talk about some tweets about Arch Manning real quick. We built out a great viewing schedule for you. If you're a couch potato like us on Saturdays, you don't have to worry. We're going to build out exactly what game you need to watch all throughout the day from 12 p.m. until Pac-12 or Pac whatever after dark. We got a big game breakdown this week of the UGA and Tennessee game. Look, we've told you about our bias before, but look, College Game Day is going there. Josh Pate is going there. This is obviously the big game of the week, right? And then we have our underdog picks of the week as well. So, Aaron, the one thing I wanted to cover for week 2 before we move on, Steve Sarkisian on the podium talking about toilets, man. What are we talking about right now, right? Like, Arch Manning clearly has something going on with his shoulder. He's not looking. I understand he had very little game time to put on film last year, but he's not looking the same this year. He is putting on a wincing face every time he throws the ball, or at least sometimes he throws the ball. And Steve Sarkisian's on the podium, kind of, coach speaking his way through trying to defend his player. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. So just to give a little bit of background, the quote that I see, and I quote, Sark said, I've never filmed any of you guys when you're using the restroom, so I don't know what faces you make when you're doing that, right? I guess he's a guy who's trying to keep his cards up his sleeve and not let you know if Arch is going to be available, what's really going on, or if there's anything there. I will say this. You have to be careful with like lingering injuries of football players, because when something's lingering like that, one wrong mechanic, one wrong hit, it could be season ending. So I just really hope he has the best interest at mind for Arch, and he puts him in a light that's not going to embarrass him, because there's already so many eyes on him already.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not a great liar, but I am a great deflector. That is grade A top notch deflecting right there. Just going straight to the bathroom jokes is top notch. I did want to point out, the backup right now. I mean, they've got a few guys, but probably the one with the most college experience is Matthew Caldwell. He's a 5th-year senior transfer from Troy. And then there's a couple of redshirt and true freshmen after that. With you about to enter into your SEC, conference schedule, I don't know how much you want to put in, a freshman with a lack of experience there. So Matthew Caldwell is probably the next guy up, but clearly, Sark has some reservations against putting him in and keeping Arch in. Anyway, sure. We'll move on. We want to get to week 3 because we've got a lot to talk about for this weekend. Week 3, a lot of conference play is starting up, and that's when the season starts getting good, So, Aaron, why don't you kick us off? I am planning on being a couch potato this weekend for the most part. Actually, there's one game that you and I are actually going to. So maybe we won't be a couch potato all Saturday. But why don't you kick us off? What should we start watching this weekend?
Sure. So we get started early this weekend on Friday. It's Friday night at 7:30. You got Colorado going to Houston, right? There were reports of Ryan Staub starting this weekend, but Dion was pushing back on that report, saying things that were losing credibility from that report. Like, what is the truth on that? What's going on?
Yeah.
So
confusion. He's playing the confusion game.
Exactly. So there's uncertainty in the QB room. Caden Salter, his performance has been mixed. We've seen some sparks of goodness, but nothing particularly strong has been there. And I feel like we've kind of seen that as a whole with Colorado's performance this year. So I'm not sure if we're ready for a great year from Dion yet. I think we're about to see another mediocre mid performance year. I got Houston winning this one, to be honest. What about you?
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Ryan Staub, I don't know anything about this guy. Yeah, Houston might get it done, honestly. Yeah, Colorado, they've lost a lot of juice, obviously. Yeah, I'm going to go with Houston on this one. We'll see.
Yeah. So I mean, madness starting already on Friday. Um, Later that night, Friday at 10, we have New Mexico going to UCLA. This is a need to win for UCLA. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's a dire win, or else we're gonna have another coach rising in the hot seat chart.
Yeah.
So, um, I think UCLA and Nico find their fitting in this game finally, and they get their first win in the books. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep. We're gonna get right eventually. I'm gonna keep picking Nico. I'm gonna keep picking UCLA. We're gonna get it right eventually. So yeah, I agree with you. Must win, but it seems like the UCLA squad. They know what they've got currently, and they probably know that they got Nico for probably another year. I would imagine, and they know what to do to maybe make a splash next year. But this year just seems like a wash. But I'll still pick UCLA for this one. All right, so that will take care of Friday. That UCLA game is actually 10 p.m. Eastern. I don't even know if I'm going to stay up for that one. Saturday at noon is actually the game. Is a game that Aaron and I are going to. We are going to number 12 Clemson at Georgia Tech. That game will be played here in Atlanta. I think the main things that we're going there for research purposes. The main thing we're going there to see is can Clemson get really back on track? I mean, with the preseason kind of expectations, even the expectations we had on this show, right? Like Cade Klubnik and his offensive coordinator, they're finally going to get to gelling, and their defensive line is going to be, they're seniors and veterans, and they're going to be able to take over any game. That just hasn't been happening so far, right? So they're looking, the Tigers are looking for a statement win, I think. Georgia Tech, they're 2-0. They're looking really good under Brent Key. I think this is a game that's going to kind of validate what the rest of the season is going to look like for either of these teams, and I'm glad we're going to be able to go see this one. I think one of the key matchups here is going to be Georgia Tech's offense versus the Clemson defense. Although the one point there is like Haynes King, he did get hurt a little bit. He missed last week, with an injury, but he is such a huge part of this offense, and so that's why I think that offense versus defense, Georgia Tech offense, Clemson defense is going to be worth watching. Aaron Philo was the backup who filled in last week, and he had 373 passing yards. So pretty good there. Maybe he'll be pretty good against this Clemson defense. I'm gonna pick Clemson on this one. I think Clemson will get not an upset, but they'll be able to ruin the home team's night. What do you think?
I'm leaning towards Georgia Tech, man. I think they've started off the year strong, got a really solid win against Colorado in the opener. I think Georgia Tech, if you want to make noise and you want to make your case to be a CFB contender, it starts right here with this game right now. So I think they're going to do it. If Haynes King, if he's back, I think he's going to make a lot of noise and just cause a lot of disruption to that Clemson defense. I got the Jackets.
Nice. Gotcha.
Yep.
Question is, are you going to wear a Georgia Tech shirt to the game?
All black. Everything all black.
Gotcha. Okay. Another 12 o'clock game that we have on our schedule here. You're going to need a lot of TVs for this weekend. I'll just let you know right now. Wisconsin at number 19, Alabama. I think the biggest thing here for Wisconsin, they want revenge after getting embarrassed at home last year up in Madison. For Alabama, I think it's a chance for them to show like they're still an elite program. They tried to do that last week, right? They scored 100 points on some high school, but they want to show that they're still an elite program, and they want to get some key pieces back on the field. The key matchup here, I think, will be the trenches, especially on the Wisconsin defensive line and Alabama's offensive line. Wisconsin's rushing defense has been one of the best in the nation, but Alabama's rushing room has been a little bit of a question mark. So we'll see, what that matchup kind of looks like. Maybe that's something Wisconsin needs to lean on if they want to get this huge upset going. Although Wisconsin's quarterback, Billy Edwards Jr., he's out with a knee injury, so it's hard to say what their offense is really going to look like. So not sure if Wisconsin's going to be able to get enough points in Tuscaloosa in order to make this a competitive game. I'm going to pick Alabama here. I think that's the safe choice. What do you think?
Sure, sure. So I am gonna have to agree with you. I think Alabama is the team to go with in this matchup. I'm not sure how I feel about their team this year and their dynamic. They came out last week, like you said, they did try to make a statement, right? But it wasn't against a team. It wasn't against a team that was a true challenge. So I'm interested to see if they're going to continue that dominance that they had in week 2.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Wisconsin isn't like the best in the Big Ten, but they are a team with a pulse. And so we'll see what's there. Saturday, we'll move on to the 3:30 slot. UGA is playing Tennessee, like we said. College game day is going there. That's going to be a big game. We're going to talk about that later. We're actually going to break that down into more detail. So we'll move past that for now. Let's move into the 4:30 slot. Aaron, who do you have? Who do you want to watch during that time?
Sure. So at 4:30 on Saturday, South Florida is going to Miami. A top 25 matchup. That's right. South Florida is ranked number 18 right now. After they stunned the University of Florida last week, the state of Florida is becoming a must-watch television series, right? I think the University of South Florida and Byron Brown, they may run out of juice at this point. Miami looks good. Carson Beck, I mean, he's proving that he can be efficient with an offense that doesn't rely solely on him. I got Miami winning this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Miami on this one as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then the nightcap game at 7:30, right? So we got number 16 Texas A&M playing up against number 8 Notre Dame. We will talk about this a little bit more later, but right now let's talk about how either team can really make a statement in this game, right? Texas A&M, they're off to a great start, and they're facing a tough Notre Dame team that is 0-1, and they need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive, right? Texas A&M offense, they're very explosive. They have made a ton of big plays. They have a great dual threat quarterback, and they have some explosive wide receivers in their group, and some of those are transfer guys. But Notre Dame's defense is also stout. They've struggled to get pass rush at times, but they're pretty athletic in the secondary. Some players we want to watch. Texas A&M's quarterback, Marcel Reed. He's a guy that's thrown for over 500 yards already and, 7 touchdowns in just 2 games. Mm-hmm. He's the guy with dual threat ability, and he'll be key in Texas A&M's success. We'll talk more about that game later, but Mash, do you have any thoughts on this game right now?
Yeah, I think last year Notre Dame won. I think Texas A&M has gotten better and Notre Dame is not as good. I'm gonna go with Texas A&M on this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's a few other games at this time. I told you guys you're gonna need a lot of TVs. You're gonna need your phone out, your iPad. Take your wife's iPad. Florida is gonna be playing at Baton Rouge against number 3 LSU at 7:30. I just want to touch on the Billy Napier situation real quick. While Florida did not win the Week 2 Saturday competition, I am sure that the entire fan base is somewhere between sad and just completely numb to their situation. I think just the waste of DJ Lagway's potential should be considered malpractice at this point by the Florida coaching staff. And Billy Napier, yes, he hired an offensive coordinator last year in the offseason, but he's still, calling the plays. You have a generational talent here. You're on the hot seat, as we keep mentioning. Why do this? Let someone whose job it is to make sure that DJ Lagway can live up to his potential, do that. DJ Lagway has been looking pretty not great, uncomfortable. I understand he's maybe dealing with the injury, but he just hasn't been looking great this season, especially not after the sparks that we saw last season. So in any case, against LSU, LSU's front, they rattled, Clemson early. I'm sure they're going to be able to do that to Florida's offensive line. They're not as talented. And Florida's red zone efficiency is not good. They settled for field goals too many times last week. I don't see a world that Florida wins this game. I'm picking LSU probably by a lot.
Okay. Nope, that's a really good choice. I'm going to have to agree with you there. Preseason talks, Florida just showed all the promise in the world, man. You thought,
Yeah.
they were just going to be that team to just sneak up on the SEC this year and just really
Yep.
be dominant. I don't want to overreact, but I feel like that dream has sailed,
Yeah.
Um, and like you said, for the hope and sake of Napier's job, you have to let your guys do their job. Let your experts come in and help you. You can't run the show by yourself. It's obviously showing. And if your quarterback's not comfortable and your leader's not comfort, a lot of mistakes will happen and a lot of inefficiency will happen. So I'm going to agree with you. Tigers win in Death Valley.
Nice. And then we have one more game we want to touch on here real quick. Saturday, 7:45 p.m. Vanderbilt will be going to number 11, South Carolina in Columbia. I saw that Vanderbilt actually hasn't beaten the Gamecocks in 16 straight games. Granted, Vanderbilt has been super bad for probably 15 of those, or at least 14 of those. I think what's going to be important to watch here is Vanderbilt's defense versus South Carolina's offense. Vandy's defense has been excellent this year, ranking in the top 10 in the nation, actually, in total defense. South Carolina's offense, on the other hand, has struggled a little bit. They're ranking last in the SEC in total offense. Interesting. And so Vanderbilt's quarterback, Diego Pavia, I've mentioned, I'm a big fan. He's been the best quarterback in the SEC so far from a statistics standpoint. And he's been pretty mobile. He's been able to make plays both with his arm and his leg. And we're gonna see how disciplined South Carolina can be. We're gonna have Lenora Sellers and that Nick Harbor connection. That's gonna have to be on point in Columbia on Saturday. But I don't know. As much as I believe in Diego, I think South Carolina is going to be able to pull this one off. It's hard to win in Columbia.
Yeah, that's right. We've both been to Columbia. That stadium is electric.
Especially at night.
Yeah, at night, exactly. And this is a night game in Columbia. This game right here is probably the game I'm the second most excited about this weekend. I really love how these teams have really, stood up their programs and really made a name for themselves to say, hey, we are an SEC team too. So I'm excited to see how they perform and who will come out on top. I'm excited to see both quarterbacks perform. I feel like they both were the newcomers of the league last year that just really showed like great promise and that, there's future at any school. But I'm going to have to go with South Carolina here. I just feel like the connection, Sellers to Harbor, is going to happen a lot this weekend. So be on the lookout for that.
You said this is your second most exciting game of the weekend?
Yeah, second most.
Oh, what's your first exciting game of the weekend?
Yeah. So let's get into the game of the week, in my opinion. The big game breakdown, right? College game day is here. You got number 6 Georgia going to Knoxville, Tennessee to play the Tennessee Volunteers. First things first, you have to approach this game knowing that there's a difference between what you think and what you've seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what you think? Let's start there. UGA is 8-0 against Tennessee in the last 8 years, right? They're 13-2 in the last 15 years. Right there alone, that shows me that Georgia has been very dominant in the recent 10 to 15 years. What I'm thinking is this is going to be a really, really heavyweight matchup. And I'm clutching my pearls right now. I fear for the dogs. What are your thoughts, Mash?
Yeah, I mean, we'll say it again, we'll disclose it again. We're both UGA fans, but we're gonna look at this very objectively, right? Yes, UGA has been dominant the last 15 years. That's obviously going to influence what we think how this game is going to go on Saturday. Josh Heupel, he's been there at Tennessee for the last 5 years, and I just want to do a little deep dive into the stats real quick. During that time, his teams have averaged 400 offensive yards per game. All right, and I'll put this. I'll make a little graphic and I'll put it like right here or something. But his teams have averaged 469 yards per game. Right, he's averaging a lot of yards per game, except for when he plays UGA. When he plays UGA, his numbers go down. For offensive yards per game, they go down by 150 yards per game. When he plays UGA, his points per game goes down by 23 points per. He scores 23 less points per game on average when he plays UGA. His defense allows 43 more yards, not too bad, but his defense allows almost 11 more points when he's playing UGA. Clearly, there are no outliers. There's two outliers, but there are no outliers. When Josh Heupel plays UGA and Kirby Smart, they have Josh Heupel's number. Josh Heupel has never been able to score more than 17 points through all those great quarterbacks, all those offensive genius whatevers, and he's the second coming of some other person. He's never been able to score more than 17 points against UGA. So obviously this is going to influence what we think. But this year is different. So Aaron, I want you to kind of dive into what is it about both of these teams that we've actually been able to see with our eyes this year?
Okay. So, first things first, both teams with the first two games of the year have played underwhelming competitions. But both teams have handled their food very differently. Let's talk about, UGA's defense and Tennessee's offense, right? UGA has been great on defense. They're ranked 8th nationally in total yards per game. They're very aggressive on the line. They only allow about 2.5 yards per carry, right? So they're great there. They're great on passing defense as well, only allowing about 52 passes to be completed this year. No passing touchdowns yet.
52% of passes.
52%, sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
Then you got Tennessee's offense, right? Tennessee has been very impressive. They're calling Tennessee's quarterback the Joey Football on Twitter, right? They think he's the next guy. Tennessee right now, they're averaging 58.5 points and 605 yards a game. But again, it's against that underwhelming competition. But you could argue against the better competition compared to UGA, right? While he will be playing at home in a great environment, he has never seen the speed and physicality of an SEC defensive front, much less a UGA one. So I think this game is going to come down to how can UGA's defense limit Tennessee's offense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So here are some names you need to know for Tennessee's offense. They got Star Thomas, a running back. He's the rushing leader. They use him a lot. They're going to definitely get him his carries. You got the Knoxville native, Deshaun Bishop. He's averaging over 10 yards a carry. So it sounds like he's really, really explosive. And then at wide receiver, you got Chris Brazzell and Mike Matthews. They're Joey's favorite targets, averaging about 13.4 and 17.5 yards per reception, respectively. So, again, from those guys alone, they're going to get down the field and get down the field fast. So UGA's got to adjust and come to play because they got stars.
Would you say, would you say UGA's defense, which part of the offense do you think UGA's defense will try to kind of limit? The running or the passing, the mobile quarterback? What do you think?
I think you got to start with the meat and potatoes and the basics. You got to stop that run game first. The 10 yards per carry that Deshaun Bishop is averaging, that's a scary number.
Yeah.
If we can't stop the run game, or if they can't stop the run game, it opens the door to so many other schemes, plays, types of things that you can do. So I think they're going to limit that first, and then potentially get pressure on the quarterback next.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I think UGA defense, Tennessee offense, that'll be the good on good matchup. Like I think that's where the game will be determined, who wins, that matchup. I want to cover the Tennessee defense versus the UGA offense. even Kirby Smart has come on the microphone and said it's been uninspiring so far. Their offense has been pretty lackluster, these first couple games. We've talked previously on how this may or may not be part of the kind of season-long game plan. But, not letting your first-time starting quarterback get a little bit more creative offensively in a real game situation, I feel like can come back to bite you, especially in an environment like Neyland Stadium, probably one of the best stadiums, in the nation. The wide receiver room, probably one of the most improved rooms from last year to this year, hasn't been used much outside of screen passes and like slants and stuff, right? Gunnar Stockton, he's looked shaky and unconfident at times. A lot of that can be, blamed on the offensive line, not necessarily from a lack of effort all the time, but they're dealing with a number of injuries. Especially in pass protection, the offensive line has not been looking great. The run game, in helping like create lanes for running, the run game has been a highlight on the offense for UGA, honestly, much better than last year. I think this will be a great matchup against Tennessee's, linebackers and defensive line. Some names to know on the UGA running back room: Nate Frazier, Dwight Phillips, Chauncey Bowens. All three of these guys have been getting great kind of usage. Chauncey Bowens has really kind of sprung on the scene. He's trying to earn that RB1 kind of designation. He's been very impressive so far. I think Tennessee's defense, they're going to be a top defense every year. Tim Banks is coordinating there. He was a Broyles Award winner finalist last year. Aaron, from watching Tennessee and their defense, what themes do you see with Tennessee's defense year in and year out? What is Tim Banks, kind of good at?
Sure. So, he's been a guy that's been at Tennessee since Heupel's been there. So he's always produced a top defense nationally. He usually sits in that 4-3 base defense. So, you got the 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the recruiting, maybe it's the development, but he always produces those studs on the defensive end, like edge rushers. You got the Tennessee alum James Pierce, who he was a first rounder last year that plays for the Falcons now. Yeah.
You got to see him on Sunday, right?
Yep, got to see him on Sunday. Yeah, man, he's good. I'm hoping he's good on his injury and he can come back. But again, I think he's going to have a lot of planned disruption for Georgia this weekend, and so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it is also interesting to see 2 starting cornerbacks for Tennessee. Jamad McCoy, he was a preseason All-SEC type player. He tore his ACL, unfortunately, in the offseason. And Ricky Gibson, he actually was injured in the first game against Syracuse. Their backfill has been doing a decent job. They have a lot of talent still left in the secondary, including former 4-star Boo Carter. He's been having a great season so far. Tennessee, the defensive line is, another area full of talent and depth. That's where a lot of players shine, especially, after they lost James Pierce in the first round, like you said. Look for Joshua Josephs. He is high on their stat leaderboard. He's going to be looking to cause a lot of havoc, especially against that thin UGA offensive line. So, Aaron, I'm going to choose you first. Go ahead, share your thoughts. Who do you think's going to make it out this game? Put your UGA hat to the side. Who do you think's going to win this game?
Okay, if I put my UGA hat to the side, I'm going to lean heavy on statistics and make a data-driven decision.
Yeah.
So based on the dominance you've shown me in the past 15 years, I think UGA is going to find a way to disrupt the explosiveness of Tennessee's offense this year. Joey has yet to see a physical defensive front, like you said. It's going to be ugly, but I think the Dogs are going to escape out of this one with a win.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Good. I like that, obviously. But I'm going to go a different direction. I just don't, based on what we've seen, like we talked about, I just don't see how UGA produces enough points here. I think the defense would have to score at least twice on UGA's side for this game to be close, based on what we've seen. I think Tennessee wins this one, honestly, maybe by 10 or so. 6-10. That's kind of the range I'm thinking. I'm getting very like Ole Miss vibes from last year. UGA is expected to win. They roll up, maybe not totally prepared for what's on the other side, and they stumble they stumble on upon themselves. Why can't I get that right? And so yeah, I think Tennessee will win this one. Hey, look, I'm hedging my bets. Obviously, if UGA wins, I'm happy. If my pick is right, then I'll get to talk about that on Sunday. So that's our breakdown of the big game. We do have a couple of underdogs that we want to talk about, and just full disclosure here, our record is 1-1, so that's pretty good. Aaron, why don't you kick us off? What do I guess we've identified an underdog here. Who do you think it is?
Yeah. So one game that I have on my list is kind of giving me the warm fuzzy, like, hey, something's not feeling right about this number. Texas A&M, they're going to Notre Dame. They are a 6.5 underdog right now, and Notre Dame's projected to win. They have I think a 71.2% chance to win the game according to ESPN analytics. Again, Marcel Reed, he's been really, really great. Came onto the scene in the middle of last year, and he's really led Texas A&M to greatness already this year. It'll be their first real test, but I think he's got a supporting cast around him. I think he's got Mario Carver and KC Concepcion, and they have a combined total of about 381 yards, 6 touchdowns. They're going to be able to spread out that Notre Dame secondary. So I'm not sure if they're going to win the game, but I think they'll cover that spread and make it a close matchup.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think it'll. I think Texas A&M is going to win, but that's a good underdog bet. I have one more bet, technically not in an underdog, but LSU is about to whoop Florida. So that minus, that 7.5 point spread, put another digit on that. That's too low. LSU's about to cook Florida. I'm not betting, so I don't have any money on it, but I would put my money on there. All right. Yeah. So that kind of wraps up our show for this week. We'll be back on Sunday. We'll review week 3. We'll break down the biggest plays from the biggest games, and we'll cover who had the Saturday. So we appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, obviously. We would really appreciate that. The channel has grown a lot over the last week or so appreciate all the support. Please enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.